BookTube, and this is Emma from Emma's Bookish Lifestyle, and this is Drobo. He's decided to sit and chill out on my lap. He's had a few run-ins with his brother of late, and is being a bit of a mummy's boy. So today's video is a catch-up for you. So it's a catch-up chat, but also a bit of a book haul from February. So you'll probably be wondering why I vanished off the face of the earth. Let me have a quick sip of my drink. And that, unfortunately, has been to circumstance. As some of you may know, I can't remember if I've mentioned it previously in another video, I was made redundant in January and went through a stage of having to find a new job. I've now found a lovely company that I'm working for in a village local to me, and I've started there and I've been there just over a month, so things have been going great. But unfortunately my father was taken quite seriously ill, and that meant just as I was starting to kind of get into my groove and my promise of doing more YouTube videos and keeping my content up to date, obviously my family life took quite a major leap, in that I needed to be with my mum and my brother and my family, looking after my dad and spending time with them, and so kind of life got in the way. On top of all that, obviously a new job and everything else, I've been struggling to really get my book mojo on, so the last couple of months has been a bit I will do a catch-up video of kind of what I've read in the last quarter now that we've reached March, or the end of March. We're now in April. So that's kind of what's been going on with me right now, and why my content has kind of gone naughty, Emma. And I know, I can hear you, David. I know you want me to do more content, and I'm desperately trying to do it. I promise you, I am going to be videoing as many things as I possibly can to catch up and get up to date. I'd like to try and do 2 videos a week over the next few weeks. I'm going to try and post a video on a Sunday and on a Tuesday, and that is my plan moving forward. So I promise there are videos to come. I've had a birthday, there is a birthday haul, there is a March haul, and there is a February haul, and I want to do a catch-up. So I will do a catch-up of what I've read, what I've been thinking, and what's been happening, basically. So without any further ado, let's kind of get the depressing stuff out of the way and let's get back on track. And let me go through the books that I picked up in February. I would like to preempt that I have now finally completed my spreadsheet that Sophie so kindly let a lot of us booktubers have access to in December, and came up with quite an enlightening and somewhat frightening bottom number. So I don't think I'm anywhere near Simon Savage's quantity of books yet, but I have altogether 617 unread books, ebooks and audiobooks. Yes, you've heard right. That's including the hauls that I'm about to do. 617 books. I'm going to be putting myself on a book buying ban. Apart from 2 slight changes, which is there is a booktuber meetup coming up at the end of April. I'm going to release that ban for 1 day only. I'm going to limit myself. I'm going to give myself a budget of what I can spend on that day. But I am going to very strongly restrict my books that I am buying at the moment. If I get some sent through from publishers that I've requested, then lovely, marvellous, very, very happy. But I'm trying not to buy books. I've got 617 to read, and I worked out at an average of 5 books a week, it would take me 10 years to complete my current TBR list. So that's one reason. The second reason is I'm still doing my lovely book swap with Victoria from Ease Alexandria, and so we send each other books each month. So that kind of appeases my purchasing somewhat. Considering I didn't have very many books a couple of years ago when I first started watching BookTube, before I even joined BookTube, I used to read a lot, but I didn't used to keep a lot. To now find that my TBR is to that level is quite daunting to some extent. But, you know, these things happen, and we're bookies and we'll read them and they won't go to waste. And, you know, I'm quite happy with that figure. I just need to make sure I don't increase it too substantially to the point where I forget what I've got to read. And one of the things I think I might do, and let me know down below if you think this is a good idea, but I thought I might once a month do a kind of video and ask you guys to pick a number between 1 and 617, and I will read that book that month, and you know, and maybe sort of occasionally do a full TBR based on that. I am going to do a current TBR video at some point for April, but I haven't quite got there yet. I have an idea, and I'm just toying with whether I'm going to be able to actually do that idea or not, so we'll see. So the first book I got in February was a book by Lawrence Rees, and this is called The Holocaust, A New History. Now, as many of you know, I am a World War II reader. I do read a lot of World War II books. This is a non-fiction book, and basically the author has spent the last 25 years meeting with survivors and perpetrators of the Holocaust, and he's now combined this into an eyewitness testimony, basically. Most of the information that's in this book is purported to be published here for the first time, and it's also got a lot of the latest academic research to actually create this book. So The Holocaust by Lawrence Rees. I am going to be possibly reading that for Non-Fiction November, primarily because I have read a lot of kind of fiction of late, and some of it has been World War II related, and I don't want to OD on World War II. I'd like to expand a little bit on my fiction. So the next book that I've got is also non-fiction based, and this is by Norman Stone, and it's called Turkey, A Short History. Now, I haven't really read any historical fiction or any historical books that have pretty much gone beyond sort of UK history, and so when I saw this and I read the back, I thought it was quite interesting, so I'll just read what it says on the back for you. It says, "Who are the Turks and what role has the empire and nation they forged had on the world stage? Here the celebrated historian Norman Stone deftly conducts the reader through the complex story of Turkey's past, from the arrival of the Seljuks in Anatolia in the 13th century to the modern republic of the 21st. He brilliantly draws out the larger themes of Turkey's history, resulting in a book that is a masterly exposition of the historian's craft." So again, non-fiction, Turkey, A Short History. I feel that might be actually quite nice because it's not a very big book. I think it might actually be quite a good read for the summer months, you know, when you've got the kind of steamy heat of the UK transporting you back into Turkey. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little bit loopy. Can anybody blame me? Anyway, so the next and last few videos has been So, and today seems to be Anyway. So the next book I picked up was by Margaret Macmillan, and it is called Women of the Raj, the Mothers, Wives and Daughters of the British Empire in India. Now, I have a kind of reason for picking this up. It's a twofold reason. One, it's again a different era of time and a different era of history in another country, which I'm not as aware of as maybe I should have. The fact that the British sort of for armed forces being based out in India for quite a period of time meant that actually my great grandfather on my grandmother's side was actually based out in India, and my grandmother and her brother were both brought up there. They were born there and they were brought up there for a period of time, and I've actually got a picture of them somewhere with both of them standing in front of their Indian nannies, and so this had a personal interest to me as well. So I'm going to read the synopsis again. Apologies that I'm doing that, but I don't think I could do it justice at the moment because I haven't had a chance to read it myself. But again, this is one that I think as a non-fiction book could probably get away with in the spring and summer, because it's that sort of that heady heat again, that will draw you into the atmosphere of India during that time period. So the apparent glamour of the Indian Raj continues to fascinate long after the British quit the subcontinent. But along with the beauty of the Indian landscape and the privilege of servants and holidays in hill stations, British women in that vanished world faced challenges and fears that came from being an alien ruling minority. These women were at the heart of the imperial enterprise. It was their role to support the men's work, raise the children, and attempt to replicate British society thousands of miles from home. They struggled in the face of heat, illness, loneliness, and boredom, as well as different customs, languages, and religions. The distinguished historian and best-selling author Margaret Macmillan draws on letters and memoirs, novels and interviews, bringing vividly to life their experiences, humdrum, extraordinary, light-hearted, tragic, through the century of the Raj, from the 1850s to India's independence in 1947. So, as I say, Women of the Raj, that looks absolutely phenomenal to me, and I can't wait to read it. And down to the last three, and I promise I'll whiz through them as quickly as I can. So I have started to collect vintage red spined editions, and I saw this one and I'd not read this author before, and I liked the idea of the story, so I picked it up. And this is by Eric Maria Remarque, apologies, and it's called The Promised Land. And it says, from the detention centre on Ellis Island, Ludwig Somner looks across a small stretch of water to the glittering towers of New York, which whisper seductively of freedom after so many years of wandering through Europe. Remarque's final novel tells of the precarious life of the refugee, life lived in hotel lobbies on false passports, a strange, ill-assorted community held together by an unspeakable past. For Sumner, each new luxury, ice cream served in drugstores, bright shop windows, art, a new suit, a new romance, carries a bittersweet edge as memories of war and inhumanity resurface even in this peaceful promised land. So I do have All Quiet on the Western Front, which is another book by this author. So I'm really keen to pick these up at some point. The next book I got luckily sent by the publishers at Headline or Tinder Press, and that is The Immortalists. I have seen this on quite a few channels, but just a brief synopsis of if you knew the day when you were going to die, how would you choose to live your life moving forward? And this is a group of 4 siblings, I believe, that have that information. So, The Immortalists. And last but not least, a big shout out to Hodder and Stoughton. I do love reading some of their books, and they very recently sent me the latest copy of The Two Houses by Fran Cooper. I did mention this earlier on in one of my other videos, but just to kind of give you an overview, this is about a couple who move to a property to mend and see if their relationship can be fixed, and they find and fall in love with 2 houses. They're a crumbling property, and the central rooms are purported to be haunted, and the there is a reason why the previous owner has separated these two buildings. On moving to the village, they decide that they're not going to keep them as two separate houses anymore. They want to reconnect them. And it's very, very clear that the village community don't want them there. And when the building work starts to re-amalgamate the two houses back together as one whole, a discovery is made that will unearth a decade of secrets. Ooh, very, very excited. I really, really enjoyed her previous book, which was her initial book, These Dividing Walls, which was based in Paris. And so this is another one that looks really, really intriguing to me and has more of a kind of a paranormal feel and paranormal element to it. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's my February book haul. I hope you're all well, BookTube. I hope you're reading well. I have started reading again. My sort of busy life getting in the way has settled down, so I am back to reading normally, and hopefully get to catch up with you soon. Take care for now. Happy reading. Bye.